Let's talk about trade. As I said, the White House is signaling no more deals. But last night, the president broke the news. He loves breaking news. 103 on Truth Social about the North Korea deal. The North Koreans have
South Korea.
sorry, South Korea. The North Korea deal would be a real headline maker. Here's a long Truth Social post, basically laying out the terms. Once again, trade experts believe if this deal is as the president advertised it, and unlike in some of the previous deals, the South Koreans, I'm told, are basically saying yes, this is the deal. Another good deal for the United States, using the leverage the president has, including the fact that the deadline was coming. The South Koreans were eager to be not left out of the first tranche of deals, particularly since the Japanese were in there. I don't read the chat, but I glance at it. Yes, the Canadians are screwed. Here is Scott Bessent, Treasury Secretary, talking about the tariff situation on CNBC this morning, 105.
Are there other countries that have seen what's happening that are saying, we don't want to be the last country to make a deal with President Trump?
Well, look, we've got the August 1st deadline coming up, and as we mentioned before, the rates could boomerang back to the April 2nd level. South Korea was a special case because they had an election, a new government, so they were not in the position to fully negotiate. They came in yesterday afternoon. They presented a very good offer. President Trump moved the offer up a bit, and we reached a very good agreement where they will have 15% tariffs. They will buy a substantial amount of U.S. energy. They will make a substantial investment into the U.S., both from their sovereign resources and via private companies.
So there you see the announced rates so far, courtesy of our friends at CNBC. UK at the low end and goes up from that 10% up to 20%. Dan, you know all those flags?
Yes, I do now that I see them. I don't think I would have been able to identify Indonesia if this was a game show.
Yeah. The Vietnam flag is elegant and simple. And remember, it was said by the administration, Lutnick and others, you don't want to be Secretary Lutnick, you don't want to be the last one to make a deal because the rates get worse as we go forward. That's not been true like in a linear way, but it is true that the president continues to appear to strike deals that are far more favorable to the United States than I think his critics anticipated, assuming, as Dan constantly reminds us, these must be actually codified over a period of time. So, Dan, what do you anticipate happening now? Deadline's tomorrow. He's signing the executive order today. Do you think, the tariffs will go into place and then he'll start to do additional deals in the short term? Like, when would you expect the next tranche of deals to actually be consummated?
Probably in the next week or so. I mean, look, whether these deals, as I keep saying, like we don't have the details, kind of how they play out. The fact is he is getting deals. So if you're now one of the countries that hasn't struck one, you're kind of isolated. Like the U.S. is going to keep humming now with all these other countries, and you're in a corner, and he's probably going to jack the tariffs up even higher. I mean, other than China, I don't think, and maybe India, there's no other country that could kind of has any real leverage with us. So I would imagine other countries will now have to come kind of on bended knee and probably end up eating a tariff higher than 15%. So, I mean, on some level, that I mock the art of the deal. This is a smart thing, right? You want to be first, and if you're last, it tends to be one of the worst deals you're going to get.
Yeah, I read somewhere that the president's going to talk to the president of Mexico today.
Yeah.
The Canadian situation is even more complicated by Canada's position now that if nothing changes with Israel, they'll recognize the Palestinian state come the fall. Any sense of what's going on with Canada and Mexico?
I mean, I would kind of take the same thing I just said, which is if you're Mexico, strike a deal and then Canada's isolated. I mean, then that you have a bigger problem because he's, if there's 3 players in NAFTA and 2 have a deal, you're sitting there. So yeah. The Mexicans seem quieter. They're not as brash the way the Canadians are much more vocal about not accepting a bad deal. So I would imagine he strikes a deal with Mexico in the next week or 2.
Right. Want more great clips like that? I've got an idea. Hit the subscribe button, be part of the two-way community, never miss a clip, and you can always watch our full episodes, join them live, go to twoway.tv.